I don't consider it proper that my creations belong to someone else. I can go up to a little kid on the street and say, do you know that I don't own Purple Rain? And they're appalled by that. So,
if you don't own the masters, then the master own you.
You're actually watching history event right now. I'm on my way to Time Warner Cable as we speak to close Time Warner deal. This is a historical moment.
Because, you know, not being under contract, there's no rush to do anything. It's a double-edged sword, and it's not that it's just about the money, but it's about justice and fairness. And when people say that they love you and they respect you, but at the same time take, you know, 80% of your earnings, then expect you to fix your own communities, and they'll probably edit all of this out, but... Well, it's not your game. You didn't make the rules, so everything comes hard. And as long as you're signed to a contract, you're going to take a minority share of the winnings. A select few of us will do well, the majority will not. So as a people, we'll be considered a minority. But stop. Let's take a moment and look at yourselves.
oh, I've always known that God was my creator, and that without him, well, nothing works. You know? Right today, I could sit and say I have animosity towards
a record company.
Yeah, a company that owns the rights to my work. You know, they're businessmen. They're doing what it is that makes their business successful, and I'm also allowed to do things that make my business successful. And for me, that would be to own my work. So I just chose to step away from that.
There's nothing minor about you. You are a blessed people. With courageous people going out there and actually saying something and standing up for it, I think we'll get some balance.
Many of you have been curious about whether there was any connection between Prince and Diddy, especially considering the revelations Prince made about the music industry. Allegedly, there was indeed a peculiar link between them. First, let's talk about the deal Diddy had with Warner Brothers. This was the same record label Prince was battling against for exploiting artists, profiting from their work without fair compensation, and blackballing those who dared to speak out. Second, Prince once lent his house to Diddy for parties, but he never attended these gatherings himself. Rumor has it that Prince was suspicious of Diddy's infamous freak-offs and chose to keep his distance. Third, Prince's estate was embroiled in a lawsuit with Jay-Z, who was closely associated with Diddy before these legal battles. The issue at hand was Jay-Z's unauthorized distribution of Prince's music on Tidal. Unfortunately, those who challenge powerful figures like Jay-Z, Diddy, and major labels like Warner often face dire consequences. Prince tried to warn us, and now as the drama with Diddy unfolds, things are about to get even more intense. Prince was a staunch advocate for artists' rights and control over their music. He fought tirelessly against any company that threatened these principles, and some believe he paid the ultimate price for his defiance. Whether Warner Brothers played a role in his untimely death remains a topic of debate, but many fans suspect their involvement. To give you some background, Prince signed with Warner Music in 1977 at just 18 years old.
I learned early on this was what I wanted to do. Maybe about 12 years old, I knew that this is what I'd want to do the rest of my life. Yeah.
Despite his early albums not achieving great success, Warner kept him on, recognizing his potential as a serious talent. In 1982, a year after MTV's launch, Prince released music that broke into the US top 10, marking the beginning of his rise as a music video pioneer. By 1984, with the release of Purple Rain, he was arguably the most electrifying pop star on the planet. As Prince's fame grew, he established his own label, Paisley Park Records, partially funded and distributed by Warner. However, he soon realized he wasn't receiving his fair share and began fighting for his rights. He likely thought it would be straightforward to leave Warner Brothers, but it was anything but. Warner frustrated him, as record labels often do. Leading up to the release of The Gold Experience, Prince and Warner clashed over money and music, prompting him to go public with his grievances by writing Slave on his face.
No, I think once I started writing Slave on my face, I pretty much knew the outcome. I mean, you have to understand that that word on one's face pretty much changes the dynamic of any meeting that you're in.
He argued that Warner owned and controlled his name and music, prompting him to change his name to a symbol, becoming the artist formerly known as Prince. The conflict with Warner intensified, and in a 1999 interview with Paper Mag, Prince discussed leaving the company, saying, "I wanted to buy my masters back from Warner Brothers. They said no, so I'm going to re-record them, all of them. Now you will have 2 catalogs with pretty much exactly the same music, except mine will be better, and you can either give your money to WB, the big company, or to NPG. You choose." He frequently spoke about how labels controlled him and other artists in interviews and at award shows. Prince was so committed to reclaiming his art that in 2007, he announced plans to take legal action against YouTube, eBay, and the Pirate Bay for unauthorized use of his music. Eventually, Prince regained ownership of his name and reached a deal with Warner, but soon after he died under suspicious circumstances. At the time of his death, the official story was that he died at 57 from an accidental fentanyl overdose after unknowingly taking counterfeit Vicodin. He was found in an elevator, the same one he referred to as the devil. His death shocked many, as it seemed implausible that the famously clean-living Prince would die from a painkiller overdose. Reports suggested Prince was unwell in the weeks leading up to his death, having canceled shows and made an emergency landing to receive anti-opiate treatment. Yet people questioned why he wasn't under a physician's care after allegedly overdosing less than a month prior. The fact that he wasn't receiving medical treatment was puzzling, especially given the demands of his tour schedule. Prince seemed to know he was in danger, much like others who have challenged the industry. Shortly before his death, he posted a picture with a now-deleted message. "Just when you thought you were safe." He even predicted his death twice. During his final appearance at a Paisley Park party, just days before his death, he reportedly told attendees, "Wait a few days before you waste any prayers." Intriguing, right? Many believe he was unalived, a sentiment echoed by celebrities like Kanye West. Speaking of Kanye, some compare him to a modern-day Prince fighting for the same causes. If you took Prince from the late 70s and 80s and placed him in today's social media era, he might be viewed similarly to Kanye West. L.A. Reid even told Access Hollywood, "People love Kanye for sure, but he's great. I mean, on the level of Prince, but modern day. He's hip-hop. He's not the same thing. He doesn't play guitar. He doesn't play piano. He's not that kind of performer. But for hip-hop, he is a king." Now let's discuss Diddy's role. Remember, Diddy and Warner Group inked a joint venture deal, giving Warner a 50% stake in Diddy's Bad Boy Records. Warner would handle marketing and distribution of Bad Boy's catalog in artists like Mace, Mario Winans, Notorious B.I.G., and P. Diddy himself. Diddy boasted about the deal, saying, "There have been a lot of boutique record labels that come and go, and we're still here. This has ensured for the next couple of years that we have the right financial backing, the right financial structure, the right partners to remain a force in the music industry." Ironically, the very practices Prince fought against were what Diddy was doing to his artists. We don't need to list every former Bad Boy artist Diddy has wronged. The list is long, and allegedly, this was one of Prince's issues with Diddy. What's worse is that just before Diddy faced his first lawsuit, he began returning publishing rights to his former artists, including Biggie, who signed with Bad Boy Entertainment in 1993. However, former artists claimed Diddy had already exploited these rights, rendering them nearly worthless. As I mentioned, Prince likely knew about Diddy's freak-offs and chose to distance himself. Jason Lee recently recounted that the first Diddy party he attended was at Prince's house, where no one was allowed to bring their own security. Perhaps after that party, Prince realized what was happening and severed ties. Let's also touch on Diddy's former best friend Jay-Z and his involvement with Prince. Allegedly, during Prince's struggles with Warner, he trusted Jay-Z, believing he had artists' best interests at heart. Prince struck a deal with Tidal, a streaming service owned by Jay-Z's Roc Nation. However, in 2016, Prince's estate authorized NPG Records to sue Roc Nation for putting 15 Prince albums on Tidal. The lawsuit claimed Tidal only had a 90-day exclusive license for a new album, Hit and Run, and committed copyright infringement by streaming 15 albums. Tidal argued they had a license, both written and oral, to distribute many of Prince's albums. But NPG contended that the agreement was fabricated and backdated. They acknowledged a deal for Hit and Run, but denied any agreement for other works or title equity. Rock Nation ignored requests for documentation of any oral or implied agreement. Essentially, people suggest that Jay-Z and Diddy are two of a kind, capable of similar actions. When Prince warned about the industry's machine, he was referring to figures like Diddy and Jay-Z. Like many before and after him, he faced severe consequences.
At that time, Prince
What do you
was this
think
young,
about everything
fresh
Prince
talent
tried
with
to expose
undeniable
about the music
potential.
industry?
And Warner
Do you believe
recognized
it led
that.
to his
And by the
untimely
early
death?
1990s,
Share
the
your
tension
thoughts
had
in the
reached a
comments
boiling
below.
point.